Hi, my name is John and this is Business Focus. In today's video, we'll be talking about the recent topic that I've discussed in the past about how the Philippine government has decided to push through with or propose the creation of a fund to benefit the citizens here called the Maharlika Fund with the backing of the president here. I've discussed it that I was apprehensive in terms of its performance of government officials take advantage of graft and corruption of using people's funds to fund their pockets and the idea is sound if it's done properly in other nations like in Taiwan, in developed nations such as Singapore, Japan, and other nations alike. But I'm pessimistic. So in this particular article that we're going to take a look at today, a survey was done by SWS Survey and asked Filipinos whether how they felt in terms of the proposed Maharlika Fund, and we'll take a look at what's the response. Did it make sense? Or there are more questions than answers provided here. So let's take a look here. So according to Philstar.com, Filipinos are split on whether the Maharlika Fund can deliver on its benefit here, according to SWS survey. So the survey was done with 1,200 respondents here. So not a significant number. So you always take it with a grain of salt. More sample size would have been preferred. And what's interesting, it wasn't mentioned here what type of sampling method was utilized to to gain a better perspective if it's done accurately with less bias. Who are the people were surveyed in this aspect? But let's take a look at the first question that was asked here. So in terms of their response, whether the benefits of the creation of the fund as mentioned. So what are their response here? Now the options that were given here is either there's much benefit and little to no benefit. A bit iffy here in terms of the option that was given here. So it mentions here that more than half or close to half of the population in the 1200 here said that it generated little to no benefit here, while the other half, 46%, mentioned that too much benefit here. But to my understanding, is there any difference to little to no benefit versus much benefit here? I don't know. So, which brings a whole slew more of question. Did they phrase the questions here in terms of the Likert scale that they provided? Now they offered here two. I think they broke it down further to little benefit, which only offered 37%, and then 40% of almost no benefit at all. But it just goes to show that the scaling difference is very marginal here, and I don't know even the respondents understood what the question was being asked here. And me being pessimistic from the get-go that with much good intentions based on past history, the government has not provided any evidence to my knowledge. I could be wrong, that they have a good track of managing our resources effectively that could actually benefit the entire populace here. It goes on to ask another question on the opinion of corruption likelihood. So what's interesting here is 38% were undecided, which is pretty surprising, meaning they didn't even bother or they didn't care. And then 31% only mentioned that there was much confidence, which it's not clear in terms of the scale that they used. They could have used a different term here. And then another 39% only offered little confidence here, meaning there's not much confidence at all if you combine the 31 to 20, 29, 70% already of the majority of little to much confidence that will end up in corruption here. Is that good or bad? It depends. And what's interesting, the last question that they ask here is in terms of their knowledge of their Maharlika fund. And And it shows here that 47% or almost half of the respondents stated that almost no knowledge or no knowledge at all, meaning they didn't understand what the topic was all about. So they didn't bother, they didn't care because they didn't know what the fund is all about. So it just goes to show, going back to the initial part, who did they ask? Did they ask people who are closely following, the news, or just some random people on the street that they ask, or anyone in this particular matter? And the 1200, in my opinion, is not enough to give you a good representation of what the populace sentiment is all about. And then 33% believe that they have only a little knowledge, which is not good. And 20% stated that at least partial but sufficient knowledge. So if you add, those numbers, it's looking not too good in terms of the understanding of what the topic is being discussed here, let alone trying to get some sort of feedback here as to, get them to have a better understanding of what the topic is, which is obviously, if they understood how I understood it, a lot of more people would be pessimistic in terms of the outlook here, because of, obviously, people could care less, or they have other more priorities, worrying of day-to-day lives or activities here. uh, it goes on to mention here, in terms of its knowledge, it was significantly higher, 29% in Metro Manila, and then 24% in Luzon, 14% in Visayas, and only 10% in Mindanao. So it doesn't mean anything, but in terms of knowledge, it would have been nice to see a cross tabulation to compare, in terms of knowledge, how is it broke down in terms of their response here. Anyway, it goes on to mention that the sampling error in terms of margin was only plus minus 2.8% for the national percentages, while for the other regions, Metro Manila, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, has a margin of plus minus 5.7, which is a little over 95% confidence level, going to as close as 99%. Whether that's reliable, highly I'm highly dubious, because again of the limitation of the sample size. So be forewarned. Always take it with a grain of salt. A disclaimer that the response here in this particular article is only limited to those number of people, because obviously, if you want to get a better, more accurate representation or understanding, you have to survey the entire populace, which is 100 million people strong, and obviously that will entail more resources and more time. And by the time they are able to do that, I don't know if the article would make sense in a year's time or even longer here. But that's the case here for today. Now the question is, do you agree with the sentiments that, that the Maharlika Fund is going to benefit the Filipino populace, or is it just going to be another shadowy, I would say, project, but it's not going to do what it's supposed to do, no matter what the good intentions that the politicians have set their minds to? Leave your comments down below if you do agree, or you 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 have a different opinion here than mine as well. We'll see. Anyway, that's it for this week. Come back again on Wednesday for more business update, for more news here and around the world. Stay here with Business Focus. As always, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.